Are you ready, Mr. Pretorius?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Zuma, before the long adjournment, you and your representatives were handed a copy of a media statement in more legible form than appeared in the bundle. It's apparent from the document, at least, that a media statement was issued by the Presidency on the 15th of March 2016. And may I ask, who is Bongani Majola, or who was he?
He was one of the staff in the Presidency dealing with communications.
The statement reads, and it's at page 55, page 54. This document at page 54, which is illegible, Chair, will be replaced by the document now handed to you, headed Social Media Comment by Former Member of Parliament. If I may read it to you, sir, it reads, the Presidency has received media inquiries about a reported comment on social media by former ANC Member of Parliament, Ms. Faki Mentor. The second paragraph reads, President Jacob Zuma has no recollection of in her career. Do you know anything about the statement being issued on your behalf?
Yes, I do. My office came to check after getting the information from the communications whether I know anything. At that time, I must be honest, I had no recollection of this name. Totally. I gave a very honest answer. I've never had, I don't know who is this. Only after some time, when I saw her picture, I realized it is a person I know. I couldn't put the name to the face.
To the face?
Yeah.
So, do I have it correct? You do, having been reminded of what she looked like, have a recollection of Ms. Mentor?
Yes, absolutely.
And insofar as this particular statement suggests otherwise, the statement is incorrect?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Was the question whether the statement at page 54 is incorrect? Was that the question?
Yes.
And the two of you speaking at cross purposes, that the statement says, doesn't the statement say that he had no recollection of who
Yes.
Ms. Mentor was?
Yes.
Chair, the statement says President Jacob Zuma has no recollection of Ms. Mentor. The explanation I understand it to be is that at that time he had no recollection, but later on recognizing her face, she did have a recollection. And that's why I qualified the question in the manner I did.
Well, I might not have understood, but I understood your question to be asking him whether the statement at page 54, or suggesting that the statement at page 54 is incorrect, and with him agreeing, whereas my understanding is that the statement at page 54 is correct, according to what he's saying, insofar as he had no recollection of who Miss Mentor was. But when he subsequently saw the picture, he realized that it was somebody that he knew. That's my understanding. I may be wrong.
It's equally correct. I hear what you're saying. That's what I understood the position to be. And I think what Mr. Zuma understands the position to be. I think we're all in agreement. But the point is that insofar as this statement would seek to suggest that he never has had any recollection of her, it would be incorrect. But it doesn't suggest that. If the tense is correct, President Zuma has no recollection on the 15th of March 2016.
Yes, as at that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't think there's any
Yes. Mr. Zuma, you understand?
Understand.
Yes, okay.
For completeness of the record, Ms. Mentor did respond to that presidential statement or statement issued on behalf of or by the presidency in MPM 6, which is at page 55. Have you a clearer copy of MPM 6, Chair?
No, I have a very unclear copy.
You have a copy of the clear MPM 6?
55, yes.
The retype, no, 6.
You are talking about...
It was given to
It's-
your representatives?
No, Mr. Pretorius, I think you are talking about page 55, and he says page 55. You are on the same page.
Literally, thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
I thought he said MPM 5.
No,
But
he
anyway-
said, I think he said page 55.
Oh, it's page 55, the red.
Yes,
Yeah.
the red one.
55.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
I think you have got the right one.
Okay.
Yeah.
that is in very small print, it being an extract from social media. Have you been given by your legal representatives a clearer copy? It was given to them before the long adjournment. Has it been given to you?
The one in front of you,
But
is it
the
legible?
small one.
No, the one at page 55, is it legible? Can you read it?
No, this one is small.
Small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Have you got a,
Chair, it's after lunch. It's been a long day. Let's take
Okay.
it slowly.
have you got a copy?
What we have done is we've made a clearer copy of page 55
Yes.
in a text that is legible.
Yes.
It was handed to my learned friends before the long adjournment, and I had
Yes.
hoped that he would have been given a copy. But
Have
I'm
you-
now asking whether he's had an opportunity to read it.
Have you got a spare copy? I think just, have you got another spare copy? Or can you defer the question?
No, Chair, if I may just stay in control. All I'm asking, Mr. Zuma, is did your legal representatives give you a clearer copy of page 55 in the long adjournment?
No. The one.
So we must give it to you now.
Yes, because the
Well, may I ask-
print is smaller there.
Yes, okay.
Chair, I would have hoped
Yeah.
that the document that I gave to Mr. Zuma's representatives would have been discussed with him. That was the purpose of giving it. It seems it wasn't.
Yes.
So let's start again.
No, hang on. I think
Let me finish.
Mr. Masago wants to say something.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
My learned friend for the evidence leaders, Ms. September,
Yes,
during lunch, gave me a single copy,
yes,
which was a copy that we put in the file together.
yes.
I did not understand
There was
that,
no indication that
that we needed to give it
to the witness.
the witness
Yeah.
for purposes of what my learned friend suggests we should do.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It was
Well,
clear,
yeah.
Chair. I don't want there to be any argument about trivialities or these arguments to be blown up.
Okay, there are
Everybody
two
knew
ways.
we were going to deal
There are
with it.
two ways of dealing with this. One is for you to ask someone to get another copy, or
We've got copies, Chair. I can
I've
hand
got
it.
enough copies. then the witness must be given the copy. Lerato.
And do you have a copy, Chair?
I don't have.
Give me another copy. 55.
Thank you.
Just for the record, if a copy is given to my learned friends during the course of evidence, the clear intention is that the copy is given so that the witness can be given an opportunity to be recognized in relation to it.
No,
But
I don't.
as
Mr.
I understand it,
Pretorius,
you haven't. No,
no,
that's
I
what
don't
I
think-
said before the long
I don't
adjournment.
think that's fair.
I
think-
said it before the long
No,
adjournment.
no, Mr. Masago has said he was given a copy, not by you, but by Ms. September.
On my
You
instruction.
don't know what transpired between the two of them. Mr. Masago has said that there was no indication that that was meant for the witness. It would have been fair for them to think you might have made other provisions for the witness.
Be that as
But,
it may.
but let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's not.
I've got
blow it up
the one
beyond
I
what's
have
necessary.
here that I've been given now is a page that has got 2 paragraphs, but the one that it is supposed to be a replacement of, or a clearer version of, has got 1 large paragraph and about 3 lines before. It does the clearer version, is the clearer version exactly the same as the illegible version? So in other words, I want to know whether when I look at the clearer version, I may be reading something that is not in the illegible version or not.
No. Chair, let me explain. If one goes to the original MPM 6,
Yes, that's page 55.
yes, the original page 55. You will see, if I may explain, Chair, if I
Yes.
may explain, it will, you
Yes.
needn't read it. The
Yes.
first 3 lines, the first paragraph,
On the illegible version,
is cut off. It's not complete.
okay,
The complete version appears on the
clearer version,
clearer version,
okay,
right? But I'm not going to deal with it.
yeah,
I'm going to
okay,
deal with the second paragraph
yes,
on both pages,
okay,
and the second paragraph is the same on both pages.
okay, thank you.
It seems that shortly after reading the presidential statement, Ms. Mentor posted on social media her response to what appeared in the press release that you had no recollection of Ms. Mentor. And she said, I chaired the ANC National Parliamentary Caucus when President Zuma was a deputy president. He sat next to me and spoke through me and with me in caucus each Thursday when Parliament was in session. I sat with him in the ANC's political committee each month too. He is the one, it says WHI, but it should be WHO, was sent by the top 6 then to tell me that the ANCC has deployed, it should be me, to the chair of caucus then. He is the one who introduced me to the ANC caucus, then as the new chair of caucus. I had a bi-monthly with him in his townhouse offices then. He knew me right from when he arrived from exile. He met me frequently on the ground in the Northern Cape on many occasions. I know President Mbeki and Kgalema Motlanthe will never ever say they had no recollection of me. As for the Guptas, I'm not in yet. A lot still need to be told. We'll leave this here for now. And the rest is not relevant to the identification issue. Do you have any comment in regard to that? She says, in effect, that she knew you well from a number of interactions over the years, and that, by inference, you knew her well.
Well, I thought we had clarified the point that when I was asked about her from the beginning, I couldn't have any recollection. So I gave that answer that I have no recollection. Then, when I saw her afterwards, I remembered her. And therefore, she was responding to to the statement made by the presidency at the beginning. What I think also what she has written here, that I introduced her to the caucus, I think she's very much mistaken. In the caucus, the chief whip introduces whatever changes that are there. Certainly in Parliament, I'm not sure she was sitting next to me. I'm not sure we need to get to those details, really, because in Parliament it's me, a person who sits next to me is the Deputy President. Next to the Deputy President is the Speaker. Next to the Speaker is the Deputy Speaker. So I don't think we need to get into that, really.
Well, but maybe there is some importance in it, because I think she gives these details, as I understand what she's saying, in order to suggest that it can't be that you did not recall her. That's why she gives these details. Because if all of these things that she says are true, then one might say, but then in that event, Mr. Zuma must have known her very well. So I think that is what she is saying. So if the position is that, for example, with regard to her saying the two of you used to sit next to each other, if the position is that no, that could not have been, or that wasn't there, it's important to say no, that's not the case, because this creates the impression that the two of you had interacted so closely in terms of work that she is suggesting this idea that you couldn't recall her is not true. And therefore it's important to say, well, did you know each other as well as she is suggesting, and so on, in terms of the things that she is mentioning?
No, I hear you, Chair. All I'm saying, when I was asked first, I couldn't remember the name.
Yes.
Only later when I saw her and I remembered that, oh, this is the person. So at the time that I did not remember her, that's when I said, no, I don't know this person. That's when she responded. But if later I recognized and I remembered her, then I remembered her. All I'm saying with these details, which
Yes.
have that objective to say is impossible. But I'm saying she's as well exaggerating. Because I actually never said next to me.
Yes.
I'm just explaining that
Yes.
one without wanting to talk about it, whether it's important point or what.
Yes.
But it's not true that she was sitting next to me always. I introduced her to the caucus. It's not the job of the president. It's job of the chief whip or the chairperson of caucus.
Would the president be involved in caucuses and so on in Parliament?
President attends the caucus meeting if he's there.
Oh, okay.
As a member.
As a member,
They are not,
not as president.
no, as a member of the ANC.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pretorius?
Thank you, Chair. Was the statement ever corrected?
Sorry?
Was the presidential statement that you had no recollection of Ms. Mentor ever corrected?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember yet.
No, Mr. Pretorius, if it was correct that he didn't recollect who Ms. Mentor would there have been a need to correct that?
Yes, because it gives an incorrect impression.
Well, based on what he explained, I understand him to say, I may have known the face, but I didn't put the name to the particular face. Or
Chair,
is
it's
your
perhaps a
understanding
matter
different?
for submissions later, but clearly the impression gained from the presidential statement is an impression that turns out, it appears, to be certainly capable of qualification, and I'm simply asking, was it ever qualified or corrected? I don't want to make a big
Okay.
song and dance about it, Chair, really.
Okay.
Can we move on,
Yes,
Mr.
yes.
Zuma, to paragraph 118?
Paragraph 118.
Yes. What happened thereafter is that Ms. Mentor wanted to lay charges. And she says in paragraph 118 on page 50,
On page 50. And in page 118,
paragraph 118,
okay.
page 50. It seems you and I are the only ones who get on very well in this room, Mr. Zuma. She wanted to lay charges. Do you see that? Against you and some others. She says she made a statement, and then at a later stage, she requested her statement from the police, but said that it had been, she was told that it had been sent to Pretoria. And then they were asked, she was asked to meet with representatives of the police. Just get my note. If we could go to paragraph 119. I'm afraid, Chair, there's a page missing. I don't know how that happened, but I worked off a copy where the page was not missing, so I have my notes. And can we take a short adjournment so I can get the page?
Okay. Okay. 5 minutes?
5 minutes, Chair.
Okay. We'll just take a 5 minutes adjournment for the page to be found. Thank you. We adjourn.
Just get page 34. It's page 34. No, that's why it's missing page. So how do you know you got it? I had it before, the copy I worked with.
This needs to be resituated.
Barishka? Barishka, why don't you go and sort out the version there, just swap the pages around. It goes 50, 49, 51.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, again, no difference.
No problem. So I need to go to page 50, and then I'll be able to.
Actually, if you go to 49,
One. 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 Because I saw auto.
Masago Odo.
And you said you can also go auto. One, two, three. One. 1, 2, 3.
Narrator?
One, two, three. One, two, three.
Sure.
1, 2,
Whoa.
3.
That's it there right to it. I told her
Bishop.
much.
Bishop.
Iphelele.
Channel ba? Ngifayela.
But then why is yours higher than yethu?
Ma, ulayini phela. Ikinsila futhi yabo. Internal for channel 1.
Injani make the city. The city, Injani. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Okay, izwakala kanjani mangikhuluma mfethu at least? Namhlanje Tuesday, kusasa kuzoba Wednesday, then after Wednesday by Thursday, and then Friday.
Is it an variable? Okay, ngicela usebenzise imic, ngicela usebenzise
Chair.
Thank you.
The pages were all there in the first place. They were just misplaced.
Oh, okay.
So if one looks at the typed page on the typed number on the original page, one will see page 50 and page 33. Do you see that, Chair?
Yes.
Then the next page is page 34, but page 49 red. And then the next page is page 51, para 35 typed.
So it's the red numbering that is wrong.
Red numbering is wrong, but the page numbering typed on the original page is correct. Are you with us, Mr. Zuma?
At page 50, can you see page 50, the red 50? Yeah, below it you have got a black 33. The red 50, below it there is a black 33. Can you see the number in the middle of the page 33? On page 50?
Yeah, 33,
yes.
There, and then 50.
Yeah, if you go to the next page,
Yes.
the red page number says 49 instead of 51.
Okay.
It should say 51, but it says 49.
Yes.
But if you look at the black number in the middle of the page, it's 34.
34, yes.
So the black numbers are correct, but the red ones, there seems to have been a problem.
Okay.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, Mr. Zuma, all we need for now, if you would look at the black numbering, is pages 33 and 34. We needn't worry for the moment about the rest.
Okay.
So basically, if one looks at paragraph 118 on page red 50, do you have that?
159.
18,
118.
118.
118, yes.
Do you have that?
Yes.
On that page and in that paragraph, Ms. Mentor says or said that she went to lay charges against yourself and some ministers of cabinet and certain board members of certain state-owned enterprises. She did that in Cape Town. Then in paragraph 119, she says she subsequently requested the statement from the police, but was told it was with the Hawks. And that was in Pretoria. In paragraph 120, she said, and I'll read it, a member of the Hawks, Advocate Ntolo, along with another member of the Hawks whose name I do not recall, then came to my house with a typed version of the statement. Advocate Ntolo advised me that the reason for the delay was that I had complained about President Zuma and that their hands were consequently tied. They could not proceed with my complaint while the President was named in my complaint. She continues to say, Mr. Zuma, after much deliberation, I agreed to remove Mr. Zuma's name from the affidavit in the hopes that the Hawks would investigate my complaints. As far as I'm aware, the Hawks do not seem to be actively investigating the matter, and there does not seem to have been any progress in this regard. A few matters arising from that paragraph against that background, Mr. Zuma. Was it ever reported to you by anyone that a complaint had been laid against you and a charge had been raised by Ms. Mentor?
Nothing.
Never
Nothing, yes.
The conduct reported here that a complainant had been advised by a member of the Hawks to exclude the president's name, any president for that matter. How do you regard such conduct?
Well, I know nothing about this matter.
Is such conduct acceptable, though? That's what I'm saying. Had you known about it, or had you been told about it, would you have responded in any way?
I'm sorry, I think I missed the question. Just repeat
Yeah, I'm
the
just
question.
asking if he has any view of the allegation made by Ms. Mentor. You're free to comment.
No,
I'm inviting a comment, or you need not comment if you wish.
No, I've got no idea what's happening here.
Well, if I can just clarify, what the Hawks said was that they could not proceed with the complaint. They don't say they were told or given orders by anyone. They simply say that as long as your name appeared in the charge sheet, or in the charge laid rather, they could not proceed with it. That's what they say. Do you have any comment on what they said?
Well, it's difficult to have a comment because I don't know why even that statement was made.
Right.
I don't know what caused them to make such a statement or whatever.
Well, clearly they believed that they could not proceed with a complaint. If this is to be believed, and I qualify on that basis.
Let me just hear the full question first. I think Mr. Masago wants to say something, but let me hear the full question first.
The question is simply, do you have, I'm inviting you to make a comment if you wish to make a comment on the allegation that a member of the Hawks told a complainant that because your name appeared in the complaint, they could not proceed with the complaint. That's all I'm saying, and I'm inviting you to comment if you wish.
No, let me not comment because I don't know what was the cause of that.
The matter proceeded, but not in any respect that needs to be dealt with.
I'm sorry, I think Mr. Masago wants to either give you something or address me.
Chair,
Yes.
I understand the question to be that the Hawks said something about this matter. But this is not an affidavit from the Hawks. This is an affidavit.
Miss Mentor.
Miss Mentor. It must be made clear that it is Miss Mentor who says this is what they said. Not, the impression must not be given that the Hawks are themselves saying this.
Okay. Mr. Pretorius.
I thought I had made that clear, but I hear what my learned friend says.
Well, do you want to just put that beyond doubt? I'm not sure.
Chair, I recall saying at a stage, if the statement of Ms. Mentor is to be believed at all, she alleges that Advocate Mtolo advised me that the reason for the delay was that I had complained about President Zuma and that their hands were consequently tied. So if there's been any misunderstanding, it can be clarified on that basis. I'm not sure it affects the gravamen of the question, but the point is Ms. Mentor said, and if she is to be believed, I repeat, she says that Advocate Mtolo of the Hawks advised that the reason for the delay in processing the complaint was that you had been mentioned. I invited you to comment, and you've given your answer.
I think the answer was that you could not comment, Mr. Zuma. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes, okay.
Correct.
As I understand it, you have had an opportunity to examine the statement.
Sorry, Chairperson. I just want to put certain point here.
I'm sorry.
I was before the commission.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mancha. Can I ask the leader of the legal team to assist? Normally, you have the leader of the team addressing the chair, and if he's going to arrange for somebody else to address, then it's arrangements are made. I don't know. Mr. Skakani, are you able to? Okay, thank you.
I think it would be fair to put to the witness that Mr. Mutolo has applied to cross-examine that witness, meaning that the statement which is attributed to him are in dispute by him. So it's not fair if there's a version already of Mr. Mutolo that is also not put to the witness. That's the point I want to make.
Mr. Mancha, we can't, Mr. Kakane, can you address me? Thank you, Mr. Mancha.
Chair, I think you should proceed, and
Okay.
I will deal
You will-
with.
you will- okay,
I
thank
think
you.
the point is made.
Thank you very much. Proceed, Mr. Pretorius.
Mr. Zuma, in fairness to yourself, once again, we can open a channel of communication of some order here. Your legal representative, and I stress the singular, will have an opportunity to re-examine you as a matter of right. And if anything needs to be clarified, or if you ever think of anything by way of explanation, that opportunity will be available. But for the moment, if you want to take a moment to read, you've been informed that Advocate Mtolo has a different version, but what I'm putting to here is the statement of Ms. Mentor, not Advocate Mtolo. That's what she says. And you've given your answer. So
Yes.
at least we're on the same page, I think.
Okay.
Thank you. The matter then came before the Public Protector, and I know in your opening you have made some submissions or statements concerning the Public Protector process. And so if you wish to comment on any of the paragraphs following paragraph 124 on page red 51, please feel free to do so. If you need time to look at them, that's in order. I know it's a matter of that to which you've paid some attention thus far in these proceedings. I don't intend to ask you any questions in relation to the latter part of the statement.
Okay.
But if you wish to comment, you're free to do so. May we then...
Well, if you are moving away from that statement, Mr. Pretorius, I have got some questions.
Yes.
With regard to Ms. Mentor's evidence that she was at one stage at the residence of the Guptas when either Mr. Ajay Gupta or one of the Gupta brothers offered the job of Minister of Public Enterprises, and she says you entered the room when she was getting, I think she says, confrontational because she took objection to somebody other than the president offering her the job of a minister. She says that when you entered the room, she rose, she stood up, and she says, as is customary, as is protocol when the president comes in, she says, Mr. Gupta just continued sitting down. She says, you spoke to her, asked her to come down because she was agitated because of this offer that was made to her by somebody other than the president. And she says you asked her to come down, and when she indicated that she wanted to leave because she didn't want to miss her flight, she says you walked her to the car outside, and you even carried her bag and walked with her. She says when you came to the car, you said your goodbyes, and I think you said something like, we'll see each other, Ntombazana. I think she says you used that word, Zulu word, Ntombazana. And she said you were calm, you tried to calm her. She says she told you about what Mr. Gupta had said to her, but she says you were concerned about calming her down, and you walked her to the car, and you helped her with her bag. You have no recollection whatsoever of any incident like that?
No recollection at all. Nothing, absolutely.
And it's not possible that it could have happened. It's not a question of you don't remember, but maybe it did happen. Are you positive it never happened?
Never happened.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And you said you also don't remember that she had been trying to meet with you for some time on some issue that related to the portfolio committee in which she was involved before this incident.
I don't remember that either. Members of Parliament, there is a person in Parliament who is responsible for the matters of the President and Deputy President. Anyone, if he had difficulties to find a President or Deputy President, go to that person who works with the President, and that's a person who arranges meetings.
Yes, and that's the person through whom she would have had to go in order to arrange for a meeting. Yes.
Absolutely, that's what would have happened.
You might not be able to say, but do you by any chance know why, if indeed this did not happen, why Ms. Mento would say it happened and give the kinds of details that she has given?
I don't know why.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Of course, in this commission, the investigation hasn't been finalized, as far as I know, to establish whether the airlines have got a record of her flying to Johannesburg on the dates that she had given. So we are waiting to see whether there is such a record of her having come to Joburg then. But I just thought it's important that I get a categorical answer.
Okay.
And then I would like to take you back to Mr. Masago. You don't have to go to the statement. When everything is done, I have to make certain findings on evidence that I've had. And it's important, therefore, that I should get clarification and get perspectives from different people. Mr. Masago has come to the commission and said he had been CEO of GCIS, and he had performed his duties very well. No one, in terms of his seniors, had complained about him not doing his work properly. And he said, Minister Chaban actually said that he was a very good, I think, civil servant might be the word that was used, the term that was used. He said he was very happy with his work. And he says he never asked to be removed from the position of CEO of GCIS and to be transferred to Director General of the Department of Public Service and Administration. And he says the only reason why he was, as far as he knows, he was removed is what he was told by Minister Chaban, namely that you had called and said Mr. Masago needed to be redeployed or his services terminated. And actually, if I recall correctly, he said Minister Chabane told him that by the time you arrived back in the country, Mr. Masago should no longer be at GCIS. And he says he believes that he was removed from this position at GCIS of CEO because he did not cooperate with the Guptas. Now, part of this has been, you have been given a chance to comment on it, but I think I wanted to give you a full picture and enable you to see whether you have anything to add to what you had said.
No, I have nothing to add. Absolutely nothing. Because DGs deal with ministers, not the president. There's no president who can say, I don't like this DG. Not working with me, unless you talk about the DG at the president's office. No reason why I should look at the DG down there and say, I don't want, take him out. It can never happen. It is ministers who deal with their DGs. If there would have been any discussion, there would be discussion if the minister is reporting to the president and says, this is what I wish should happen. In other words, presenting the matter so that the matter is going to be discussed. It never goes this way.
But is your evidence that this is what normally happens? This is what normally happens in terms of the removal of DGs, and you can't specifically remember the circumstances under which Mr. Masago was removed, or is the position that you have a clear recollection that the circumstances under which he was removed involved Minister Chabane asking you if you could transfer him to the Department of Public Service and Administration?
No, that's what happens. Ministers, if they've got whatever view about their accounting officers, they have the case, whatever it is, they then consult with the president. It has never started from the president, but the president is not working with the president.
He said also that, as I understand his evidence, I hope I'm not misrepresenting him, as I understood his evidence, he said or suggested that his removal was done very urgently, was effected very urgently, very quickly, because of what he said Minister Chabane told him that by the time you arrive back, he shouldn't be in that position. And he says it was so urgent that Minister Baloyi, who was Minister of Public Service and Administration at the time, had not been consulted about him, that is Mr. Masago, being taken to his department to be DG. He says Minister Baloyi heard for the first time from him that he was going to be his new DG. You don't know anything about that?
No, nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that, really.
Yes.
I don't think you could have a minister of public administration not knowing and then just people saying, here is a person. Because ministers, if for an example there's to be a shifting, ministers discuss among themselves. Because and they come to say when they've got an agreement to say, no, this is what we are doing, seeking endorsement, therefore, from the cabinet.
And he said that as a result of the way in which he had been placed in the Department of Public Service and Administration, Minister Baloyi wasn't happy, and their relationship did not become good, and he resigned before his term could come to an end. So I'm just giving you the full picture. That's what he's saying. He's saying, I had no reason to leave GCIS. I didn't ask to be transferred to the Department of Public Service and Administration. My minister was happy with my performance, and I was transferred to the Department of Public Service and Administration in circumstances where the minister of that department was not consulted. He was not happy that I had been imposed on him. Our relationship was not good. I resigned before the expiry of my term. You might not have anything further to add, but I'm just giving you a full picture of what his evidence is. Yes.
No, I have nothing to add. Really.
Yes.
I have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pretorius?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Zuma, you did mention that you were suffering from the flu. Is it okay to continue still?
Yeah, we can continue.
May we go to Bundle B? I'd like to deal with the statement of Barbara Hogan. It's in Bundle B.
Bundle
GGB,
B.
Exhibit GGB. He's not going to try and take You'll find the statement at the beginning of that bundle under tab 5.
It is there. Okay. I thought it was not bundle B.
Put it in your folder.
Oh yeah. It is.
Yes, but I'm just going first to Hogan. Do you have that bundle before you and that statement?
Yes.
And can I take you, please, to the second statement, because there's a short statement, which I'm not going to deal with, but a longer statement which formed the subject matter of evidence. It appears at page 399 in the red marking.
$399. Okay.
Well, the actual statement starts at 400, isn't it?
Yeah, that's at 400.
The actual statement, Mr. Pretorius?
Yes, the contents page is page 399, and the substantive part of the statement is at page 400. I'll come back to the paragraph headed "The purpose of the statement" at the end. These are really conclusions that we may deal with at the end of the statement.
Okay.
But for the moment, can we turn to page 403? One of the topics that has been dealt with by a number of witnesses, Mr. Zuma, in this commission thus far, is the manner in which state-owned entities, board members are appointed, and the manner in which chief executive officers, chief financial officers, and perhaps other senior executives are appointed. And perhaps you can help us with the knowledge and experience you have in regard to appointments of SOE board members and SOE senior executives, and the relationship between the manner in which those appointments take place and what we've learnt is the policy of deployment. And if I may, I'd like to ask you some questions about that in relation to what Ms. Hogan says in particular. If I can read paragraph 18 of her statement, she says, a general illustration of the appointment process of a CEO and or a board member during my tenure as Minister of the DPE, that's the Department of Public Enterprises, was that under the direction of the Director General of DPE, the DPE would conduct professional searches, headhunt candidates, follow up on recommendations by industry experts, or in some cases recommendations by the board. Her Deputy Minister at the time, Mr. Zuma, as you would know, was Mr. Godongwana. She says that Mr. Godongwana and I would constantly engage on these issues, and the DG would draw on the skills and expertise of specialist sectoral units within the DPE with respect to suitable candidates. She then goes on, before I ask you to comment, please, Mr. Zuma, in paragraph 19 to say, once I had approved of the compilation of a board, I would send a Cabinet decision memorandum to the Economic Subcommittee of Cabinet for approval and then to the Cabinet for final approval. A minister may make a special appeal to the President to bypass the subcommittee process and proceed straight to Cabinet for final approval of matters that are urgent. She goes into more detail later, which we can do before you answer if you wish, but do you have any comment on the general process that Ms. Hogan says was followed under her tenure as Minister?
No, I think the process as described here, that's how it is.
That's how it is. And when you say how it is that for the time during which you were President, or including before and after?
Even before and after, it's one system that works.
One system.
Yeah.
In paragraph 20, she says, subcommittees of Cabinet meet every second week, and Cabinet meets in the week following the subcommittee meeting. The President chairs Cabinet meetings and approves the agenda drawn up by the Cabinet Secretariat, so he has a decisive role on what goes onto the agenda. That mentions the President in particular. Do you have any comment about the process there outlined?
It's correct.
It's correct. Then she continues, again in paragraph 20, as part of the Cabinet collective, ministers do, however, tend to involve Cabinet in the exercise of their powers to appoint the CEO, both as the executive authority in terms of the Public Finance Management Act and as the shareholder representative on behalf of the state. And do you have any comment in regard to that qualification to the procedure that she raises?
No comment.
She then says in paragraph 21, the Department of Public Enterprises conducted an assessment of the extent of Cabinet's involvement in order to establish the trend and the nature of its involvement. She then speaks of a review. She says, to this end, a review was conducted of previous decisions of Cabinet spanning from April 2002 to February 2009, relating to appointments of CEOs of a variety of SOEs. The results showed that Cabinet's involvement varied between approval, 10 times, concurrence 6 times, and noting twice of the relevant minister's decision, indicating that every CEO appointment is dealt with on a case-by-case basis, having considered the size, importance, and circumstances facing the SOE at the time of making the appointment. Perhaps in fairness to you, I should ask an introductory question. Do you know anything of that survey?
Which survey?
She refers to a survey or a review. More accurately, she said there was a review conducted of previous decisions of Cabinet spanning the period April 2002 to February 2009. Do you know anything of such a review?
A review of the SOEs?
Yes, appointment. Well, it's a review of previous decisions of Cabinet. In other words, what was reviewed were the decisions of Cabinet relating to the appointment of CEOs of a variety of state-owned entities. So it's a review of Cabinet decisions, but those decisions of Cabinet related to appointments of CEOs of SOEs.
There were, I mean, it's a review of decisions, not a particular decision.
No, not of a particular decision. It appears that the
maybe
review
Mr.
was
Pretorius,
aimed at...
maybe let me put it this way. I think I understand what you want to put to him. It looks like what Ms. Hogan is talking about is that there was a review of how decisions to appoint CEOs of SOEs had been taken by Cabinet over a certain period of years. And it looks like she's saying that was a review of how those decisions were taken during the period April 2002 to February 2009. Do you know anything about such a review to see how Cabinet had been making those decisions between that period, 2002 to 2009?
I
don't know anything about it.
I don't recall it
Yes.
for now.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It might have been a departmental review that might not have involved maybe the Cabinet. Mr. Pretorius.
Chair, I'm
Yes.
about to overrule my own client. I think it's been, I would like us to adjourn for the day.
Yeah,
Just-
okay.
It's
All right.
with your,
How much time?
if he's not, no, I thought for the day,
Oh, for the day?
yes,
Okay.
if it's fine with you.
No,
I'm overruling
we
the former
cannot.
president.
You're overruling the former
It's the only
president.
time I'll ever have to do this.
Mr. Pretorius, any problem?
I have no objection. It's been a strenuous
A long day,
and
yes. Yes.
far from me to judge. It seems that
Yes.
it would be appropriate to take a break.
Okay, well, I must also say, earlier on I'd given instructions that the aircon should be put on. It was quite hot. I don't feel like it's on now. I don't know whether that instruction wasn't carried out or whether it's just that the house is fuller than normal. All right, we will adjourn for the day, and we'll start at 10 tomorrow morning. We adjourn.
Not exactly.
Never say to your questioner, I'd like a break. It would be too much of that. So that's why I had to get the message.